The sun had barely risen when Arin stepped onto the cracked, forgotten road that stretched like a faded memory across the outskirts of the silent town, the kind of place where dreams dried faster than the morning dew and ambition was often buried beneath the weight of routine. Yet as he breathed the cold air that carried whispers of change, he felt something stir within him, a quiet fire that had long been smothered by fear and uncertainty but now clawed its way back to life, refusing to be ignored any longer, for Arin was tired of watching days slip by like sand between his fingers, tired of feeling that the world moved while he remained stuck in place, tired of believing the lie that he was not meant for more, and on this morning, a morning that seemed so ordinary to everyone else, he decided the smallest rebellion he could commit was to simply take one step forward, one choice that might alter the course of everything that came after. And as he walked, memories of every failure and every whispered doubt tried to follow him, their familiar voices rising like ghosts from the cracks beneath his feet, but for the first time, he did not stop, he did not turn back, because Arin held onto a thought so fragile it almost hurt to believe in it. Maybe my story isn't finished yet, maybe it's just beginning, and with each step forward, he noticed how the world began to look different, not because it had changed but because he had allowed himself to look at it with a new lens, a lens shaped not by fear but by possibility. The wind nudged the edges of his jacket as if urging him onward, and he imagined life itself whispering, "You have no idea what waits beyond this moment, but you must walk to find out." And so Arin walked, guided by nothing more than instinct and a stubborn hope that there was something out there, an opportunity, a turning point, a spark, that could transform him from the person he feared he was into the person he dreamed he could be. He didn't know where the road led, he didn't have a plan, but sometimes the greatest stories begin in uncertainty, in courage disguised as confusion, in a heart deciding that staying still is more painful than risking everything. And as he reached the old iron bridge that overlooked the sleeping river, he paused, gripping the railing with cold fingers, staring at the water below as it moved with quiet determination, never resisting its path, never doubting its flow, reminding him that movement, any movement, was better than stagnation, for it meant he was alive, capable, and still writing his own future. And in that moment Arin made a silent promise to himself, a promise to rise no matter how many times he fell, a promise to chase dreams even when they seemed distant, a promise to become the hero of his own story even if the world had not yet noticed him. And with that promise burning in his chest, Arin lifted his chin toward a horizon painted in gold and hope, unaware that forces far greater than he could imagine were already shifting, aligning, and preparing to test him in ways he had never faced before. For the universe has a strange way of responding when someone decides to change their life. It watches, it listens, and then it begins to move pieces into place, sometimes gently and sometimes violently, but always with purpose. And as the wind carried the scent of rain and destiny, Arin stepped off the bridge and continued walking, unaware that the greatest challenge of his life was waiting just beyond the curve of the road, a challenge that would break him, rebuild him, and ultimately transform him into something far stronger than he ever believed he could become. And as his footsteps echoed into the morning silence, one truth became certain. This was the moment his story truly began, the moment the universe whispered, "Are you ready?" A question Arin would spend the rest of his journey answering with every choice, every battle, and every heartbeat that followed. For greatness never comes to those who wait passively, it comes to those who dare to rise. And as you follow Arin's journey through every struggle and triumph, remember this: your story, too, is waiting to be written. And if you believe in journeys of transformation, courage, and destiny unfolding one step at a time, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because together we will walk through stories that inspire your soul, ignite your ambition, and remind you that you are capable of extraordinary things. Arin had always imagined that when he finally chose to chase a new life, the world would reward his courage with signs of progress, open doors, friendly faces, a clear path that proved he had made the right decision. But the universe, it seemed, had different plans, because barely a day after stepping onto his new journey, the comforting glow of hope he had carried began to dim as clouds gathered over his path, shadows lengthened, and the once gentle breeze hardened into a cold wind that sliced against his resolve. For destiny never tests the strong, it tests the uncertain, the fragile, the ones who have only just begun to believe. And Arin quickly learned that every dream demands a price, and that price often comes in the form of discomfort, doubt, and challenges disguised as dead ends. By afternoon, the quiet road he followed led him into a dense stretch of forest where the light struggled to reach the ground, and though the world around him grew darker, Arin didn't turn back, not because he felt brave but because something inside whispered that real transformation always happens in the shadows before it can shine in the light. Yet the deeper he walked, the more he felt the weight of solitude, the more distant home became, and the more uneasy he grew, as if unseen eyes were watching him from behind the trees, waiting to see whether he would break or rise, and just when he thought of pausing to gather strength, a sudden rustle from the underbrush made him jolt, his heartbeat pounding loud enough to drown out every sound around him. But it wasn't a beast or danger, it was a traveler, an older man with a weathered coat and a face lined with decades of battles and burdens, someone who looked as though he had walked this forest 1,000 times. The man didn't speak immediately but observed Arin with a gaze that seemed to peer directly into the soul, as if he could see every doubt, every fear, every fragile thread of determination holding him together, and finally he said, in a voice both rough and wise, "The forest becomes darker before it lets you pass, but it only lets through those who refuse to turn back," a sentence that struck Arin with the force of truth he had never heard before, because in those simple words lay an understanding of struggle that only someone who had fought his own battles could speak. The man offered Arin a seat beside a small fire he had built, its flames pushing back the cold, and as the warmth washed over him, Arin felt something unspoken, a shared understanding between wanderers who carried heavy dreams on tired shoulders, and for the first time since he left home, he didn't feel alone. They spoke for hours, exchanging stories, not about victories but about failures, fears, and moments when life felt impossible, and the older man revealed that he, too, had once walked this path seeking purpose, facing trials that threatened to break him, yet every setback had shaped him into someone stronger, someone capable of guiding others through the darkness, and he told Arin something he would never forget. Every person wants the triumph, but few accept the journey. If you continue walking, you will meet the version of yourself you were always meant to be, but he is waiting on the other side of pain. Those words sank deep into Arin's heart, stirring a new resolve that flickered like the firelight, and though he still had no idea what lay ahead, he felt ready to face it, because now he understood that destiny wasn't something handed to you, it was something earned through endurance, courage, and the willingness to continue even when the path grows uncertain. When the fire burned low and the older man prepared to leave, he placed a hand on Arin's shoulder and said, "If you ever feel lost, remember why you started walking," and with that, he vanished into the night as silently as he had appeared, leaving Arin alone once more but no longer afraid, because he now carried the wisdom of someone who had survived the forest and emerged stronger. And as Arin stood beneath the towering trees, the darkness no longer felt like a threat but a challenge, a test of the promise he had made to himself, so he tightened his grip on his hopes and stepped deeper into the unknown, each footstep echoing his determination, because he now realized something crucial, that the journey was not meant to be easy, but it was meant to be transformative, and if he kept moving, no matter how difficult the road became, he would eventually reach the dawn on the other side. And if you, too, are walking through your own dark forests, remember Arin's resolve, remember the fire that kept him going, and know that you are not alone. This channel is here to guide you, inspire you, and remind you that your story is still unfolding, so make sure to subscribe and continue the journey with us, because together we will rise from every shadow and step into the light strong enough to change our lives.